station is a busy place, and that's only part of the picture. And at South Station, the signal's cleared up for train 813 bound for Providence, 11:25. And here he goes with an F40 PH-3C. Classic power, the best looking engines you could find these days. Well, here comes 812 arriving from Providence at 11:28. Here comes train 512 from Worcester at 11:29. Arriving at 11:32 is train 80 from Greenbush. It's a fairly new service, started a few years ago on the old New Haven, New Colony lines. Used to be called the Old Colony lines. Those lines that go south of Boston, like to Middleborough, Lakeville, Kingston, Plymouth, Greenbush. Double deckers. Unfortunately, what I'm told by the MBTA group is the HSPs dominate the south side here. But hopefully I'll see some older power before I move on to another location. Well, at 11:45, we're going to have 3 trains leaving at once. One for Greenbush, one for Reedville, and one for Forge Park. Forge Park is on the old Franklin line, the old secondary main to Hartford. Well, here comes train 612 in from Needham Heights at 11:44. Trains leaving. This train's going to Reedville. Reedville's down the Fairmount branch. A rail fan hangout. Trains are coming every which way here. Now that guy's going to Greenbush. And he's going to Forge Park. It's just endless. It's amazing when you think about 50 years ago there was hardly anything running out of here. Commuter rail was minuscule, almost non-existent, and long distance trains were few and far between. We got an inbound train at 11:50. He's got an F40 on the back. I don't know where he's coming from. train on the right is going to Needham. I don't know where the train on the left is going. Well, that train there is headed for Worcester. I'm not crazy about the HSP 46s, as I've more than made that obvious, but the sheer train density here in a short period of time is awesome. Well, this is 872 from Stoughton, arriving at 11:54. Probably seen just about half of the roster of those things. They have 40 of them. Here comes a seller, 2150, arriving from DC. At high noon, he's late. He's due in here at 11:41. He's about 20 odd minutes late. We got a race at 12:05, 873 for Stoughton and 49 for Kingston. The Kingston train has the F40. This is the Stoughton job, 873. The F40 got doubled up by 873. I'm sticking around to see what train 449 is going to have motive power wise. That's a Lakeshore Limited for Chicago. Here comes 712 from Forge Park, 1209. 12:12, the equipment for 449 is backing in. The Lakeshore Limited. This is a train I don't see very often. He's got more than enough power on him. He's due out of here at 12:50. About 12,600 horsepower. This might be 918 from Reedville. 1213. He's got an F40 shoving. Departing at 12:25 is train 815 for Wickford Junction, Rhode Island. Retracing my steps part of the way. It's the longest distance you can travel out of here on an MBTA commuter rail train. Train 14 arriving from Middleborough. Here's train 13 from Middleborough with 921 about to come into view, bound for Reedville with an F40. see an awful lot of drag races coming out of here. The tracks that the trains depart from generally favor their routings so as to not interfere with other departures. They can just pull right out smoothly without delay. It's another arrival at 12:40. I've seen more F40s here in the last hour than I did on my previous whole trip. Those things are absolutely scintillating. Well, arriving at 12:45 is a real prize. It's hard to identify where these inbound trains are coming from. GP40MC number 1119. And 12:50 departing right on time is 4:49. Lakeshore Limited for Chicago. They'll get combined with the main section number 49 at Albany Rensselaer. Chasing him out of here is train 615 for Needham Heights. Put on a great show here. F40s galore, a GP40MC, all those Garfields, and a couple of Amtraks. back is train 81 for Greenbush with another gem. We see train 137's equipment backing in. He goes out at 150 for DC. ACS 64 number 607. Slightly older than the one I had rode behind coming up here, 608. I feel like I'm in Hoboken, only the colors are different. See a couple of clears here. For train 51 for Kingston and 817 for Providence, both with F40s. 1:20 p.m. it's showtime. It goes 51 for Kingston on the New Colony lines. 817 is still sitting there. Here's 817 for Providence. It's hard to leave this place. Well, I've moved on to North Station. I'm at the Orange Line station. And soon we're going to see one of those new trains built by CRRC from China, assembled in Springfield, Mass. There's a couple of train sets running on the Orange Line. They've been out of service for a few months due to truck problems. Here it comes. They're still not back on the red line yet. Here comes train 211 for Haverhill with 321 for Lowell. Place looks like a railroad museum. Lots of old power. GP40 MCs, you saw two there, and F40 PH-3Cs. The HSP 46s happily are in the minority. Here's one of the unrebuilt F40s, the F40 PH-2, actually a F40 PH-M-2C. North Station is the old Boston and Maine Railroad terminal here. Years ago there used to be trains going all over White River Junction, Montreal, Portland, Bangor. RDCs took it over. The long distance trains were gone. It was all RDC commuter rail service here for about 10 or 20 years. And thankfully the locomotive push-pull services took it over. At 2:30, here comes train 419 bound for Wachusett. Service that was extended west from Fitchburg recently. It's the old B&M main line to Mechanicville. That double-decker car needs to go into the shop. Right now you have a veritable museum of railroad equipment. You have an F40 PHM-2C, an F40 PH-3C, and a GP40MC. Who could ask for anything more? And departing at 2:35 is train to Newburyport. Newburyport is on the old Eastern Railroad main line that ran from here to Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Single level cars are used on the north side lines. Approaching now at 2:55 is train 114 from West Gloucester on the Gloucester branch, which serves Rockport. By those pesky rain showers again. Oh, here comes train 418 from Wachusett at 3 o'clock. PHM-2C built by Morrison Knudsen. And at 3 o'clock, here goes Amtrak 686 down Easter for Brunswick, Maine. There's one of those F40 cabbages. They have no prime mover. They're a baggage car. Down Easter written on it. There's a train arriving from Lowell. It's on the old main line of White River Junction. PH-2C. Just take a look at this diesel museum here. This is 113 from Manchester. Car on the train, 1522. That's one of those Messerschmitt cab cars. CT Rail has some of those. German built. Train 323 to Lowell. So many of these here, it's almost boring. I don't mind this kind of boring. These are all rebuilt by AMF from Canadian National G40-2 LWs. It's nice to see they're still earning the keep in Boston. You notice all the single level cars, they're built by a whole consortium of people. Pullman Standard, Kawasaki, Bombardier. Well, a 322. Here comes train 156 from Newburyport. That's the old Eastern Railroad from Portsmouth years ago, part of the secondary main line from Portland. There's a Messerschmitt. GP40 MC 1072 is an F40 PH-2 EMD. 1028 is an M40PH-3C, rebuilt by MPI. 1124 is another one of those GP40MCs. 1059 is another M40PH-2C, built by EMD in the 80s. And the 1071 is yet another F40PH-2C. They keep coming. The 1071 is getting ready to leave for Wachusett on train 421 at 3:30. No, my bad. This is 421 for Wachusett. About the furthest you can travel out of this station on a non-Amtrak train. It's about 51 miles or so. We're at Forest Hills now. It's a set of new equipment on the Orange Line. Heads north to Oak Grove. Our last location we're going to rail fan in the Boston area today is the Forest Hills Station. This is where the Orange Line terminates on the south end, and it runs parallel to the Northeast Corridor in the Trench. And the station is served by Needham Heights bound trains on MBTA. All other MBTA and Amtrak trains fly by here. Speed limit on Amtrak is 110 miles an hour. Here the Orange Line starts on its trip through the city to Oak Grove, which is on the MBTA line to Haverhill. Years ago, before the Southwest Corridor project was completed, the Orange Line terminated here on an elevated structure, but that was torn down as part of this construction project on the corridor. See if I can get some horn shows here. It's a popular rail fan spot. Not sure where he's coming from, but his next stop will be Ruggles. That's also shared with the Orange Line, but more trains stop there on MBTA. It should be 7:45 for Norwood at 4:23. He's flying. Well, we're back in HSP 46 country, and hopefully we'll see some older power, but not nearly as much as what I saw at North Station. That was spoiled rotten there. Well, 4:25, here comes the Cell Express 2173, Boston to Washington. And fairly soon we'll be slowing down to stop at Route 128. Here comes 86, Washington to Boston, 4:26. Caught me by surprise. Pretty soon we'll be slowing down to stop at Back Bay Station. And we got a set of CRRC subway cars coming out of Forest Hills. One of two sets in operation today. They look pretty sharp. Station here at Forest Hills lies between the interlockings of Forest and Plains. Plains are switches at that end, going towards Boston. Those cab cars on MBTA, they call them blind trailer coaches. They're pretty decent horns. I think they're like K3H or K3LA horns. Arriving Forest Hills is MBTA train 622 from Needham Heights to Boston. These are the only trains that stop here, to and from Needham Heights. We're approaching at 4:38, should be train 825, Boston to Providence. He's got a Garfield on him. And 622 is headed for South Station. I think 622 will get to Back Bay first. At 4:58, this should be train number 721 en route from Boston to Forge Park. He's switching over at Planes interlocking. Accelerating. He'll run on the corridor until he gets to Reedville, then he'll switch on to the line towards Forge Park, which is actually the line to Franklin. Forge Park is a spur off the line at Franklin. That's the old New Haven Railroad secondary main line to Hartford. Went through Blackstone and Willimantic en route to Hartford. This should be 722 from Walpole to Boston. We're coming at 5:06. This should be train 827, Boston to Wickford Junction, Rhode Island. Seeing nothing but HSP 46s. Ordinarily I would probably be bitching like mad, but I've seen a lot of old power today, so no complaints. And approaching at 5:09 is train 623 bound for Needham Heights. They'll be stopping here. And right here at Forest Interlocking, he's heading on to the branch to Needham Heights, complete with a GP40 MC.
Please remain behind yellow line.
Boston bound, 513. F40 on the rear. This is a great place for horn shows. 514, this should be train 883, Boston to Stoughton. He'll branch off the corridor at Canton Junction. Comes a train off the Needham branch at 536. Doesn't look like he's stopping. Where is he? train 624 from Needham Heights to Boston, departing at 5:38. Was 882 from Stoughton to Boston, and 624 is from Needham to Boston. Stick around here until 177 on Amtrak goes by. Should pass by around 5:45 roughly. Well, approaching at 5:44 is Amtrak 177 from Boston to Washington. You'll get into Washington at 1:58 a.m. About 16,000 plus horsepower on him. And just before calling it quits here and head back to Back Bay to catch my train to New York, got a meeting of old and new subway cars. And a set of the Chinese cars are coming into its last stop at Forest Hills. A little bit of luck, I'll catch this back to Back Bay. They have Westinghouse AA2 horns. That concludes my interlude at Forest Hills. Very entertaining. Well, at Forest Hills, I'm going back to Back Bay in one of the new Chinese subway cars. Take a look-see at this. Beautiful. Nice orange seats. Nice creature comforts, nicely air conditioned. It's been a stuffy day here in Boston. Nice change of pace from those tired old Thunder Bay cars.
The destination of this train is Oak Grove.
Face coverings are required on MBTA vehicles and in stations.
public address announcement voice on this train. That's a retired MBTA employee, Frank Oglesby, a very popular voice in the city.
Next stop, Green Street.
Face coverings are required on MBTA vehicles and in stations.
Just passed another set of these cars.
Train is Oak Grove.
Face coverings are required on MBTA vehicles and in stations.
No relation to Long Island, Stony Brook.
Next stop, Jackson Square.
Face coverings are required on MBTA vehicles.
And got off the subway at Back Bay. Gonna connect with Amtrak. Those are very nice cars. I got a little time before my train back to New York comes. Get a chance to walk around Back Bay, very fashionable, swanky area of Boston. You're looking at the Prudential Tower. All 750 feet of it was built back in the late 60s. And here in Back Bay is the Boston Public Library, founded in 1848. On the National Register of Historic Landmarks as of 2000. I'm told this is a very exotic place. Well, that amazing structure is Trinity Church, which was completed in 1873. The building in the center to the right of Trinity Church is the old John Hancock Tower. And this glassy building right next to it is the new John Hancock Tower. And this stately hotel is the Fairmount Copley Plaza Hotel, built in 1912. And right off Boylston Street in Copley Square is Old South Church, Gothic Revival style. Getting some work done on it. It's completed in 1873. Back Bay on the corner of Boylston and Dartmouth Street. This is a very vibrant, lively part of Boston. Just a couple of blocks away from Back Bay Station. Copley Square, where it's at in Back Bay. I said back in the mid-1800s, this was all underwater. This is all landfill here. Well, now we're in the inside of the Boston Public Library. And this is palatial, to say the least. Wow. Unbelievable. With all the rail fanning I've done today, I needed to do a little bit of sightseeing in this great city. Well, this is the view you get from the steps of the public library. A lot of history in this neighborhood. Indeed, Boston is a very historical town. You hear about me how much I love Philadelphia. Well, I don't shortchange Boston either. It's a great town. Okay, I'm down on the platform at Back Bay Station waiting for my train back to New York. Train 179 due out of here at 6:51. Oh, here comes train 830 from Wickford Junction to Boston, running late at 6:39. You can get easily asphyxiated in this station. And this should be train 626 from Needham Heights to Boston. You might have the GP40MC on the back. Fitting close to the MBTA rail fanning. Do I still have my hearing left? And 6:49, here comes Amtrak 179, bound for New York.
Good evening. This is the final boarding call for the Amtrak